Marc Garner, welcome to the bar.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Yeah.
Nice to be here. Looking forward to the game of pool later at social distance, obviously.
It's around the corner and it'll all have to be digitally translated. And of course, it's great that you bring up pool because we're snooker at the moment. I heard the music on the television yesterday and it brought me back about 50 years. Apparently, the Crucible is on right now, the snooker and the Crucible. When you think how much that was of all our lives, I don't think a single child watches it now.
Well, we're all snookered now, aren't we? You know, it's with what's going on.
So how are you getting on?
Very good, very good. It's you know, I can't. No one's gonna lie and say that this is where we want to be in life. But you know, you live with what you have in front of you, don't you? So overall, it's been an experience of the last 4 months. We've talked before, but through the 4 month period, my wife has been pregnant. We've had our second child, you know, a 4-year-old child, like a lot of people out there. So lots of things to try and juggle through it. My wife isn't connected in this process. So I'm comfortable saying that I'd never go through lockdown with a pregnant wife again. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's an interesting one for those that might be considering, or maybe with the lockdown, there might be a lot in that position in 7 or 8 months' time. So it's good to give people.
I'll find a way out now. There's got to be a way.
We'll edit it out. But you say you have a 4-year-old, you have a 4-year-old and a 4.5-week-old or 5-week-old. Is that really where you're?
That's it. Yeah, 2 girls.
Oh, fantastic. Same as myself. But you're obviously responsible in your work day for UK and Ireland, but you're over here very regularly. But when the lockdown hit, you where are you exactly in Britain? Is it south, north, east, west?
No, so I'm in North Wales, just on the border between Chester and Wrexham. So we moved up here last year, and very happy we did so. So moved out of the city, and we're kind of in the countryside now. So it's been one of the benefits of this whole lockdown period that we've been able to get out and enjoy the countryside a little bit, explore the surrounding areas. Having only lived here for a year now. Really interesting.
How's your Welsh? I know that the true Welsh people speak a little bit of Cymru, don't they? Is that the language?
So I grew up in Wales. I lived here until I was 16, so I can count to 10. I can say hello. I can say good night. But my 4-year-old at nursery has surpassed me now, and she keeps coming back and saying words to me that I have no idea what it is. And I mean, greatest will, trying to spell what someone's saying to you in Welsh is near on impossible. So I can't even Google it to work out what she's telling me.
No, we watch the rugby obviously here, and we watch the teams, and Llanelli and places like that. You look at the name, and Llandudno and places, and you see the name is that length. But I think also it's part of the Celtic connection, obviously, between the Welsh and the Irish, is that we have our own language that when we get drunk at night, we can speak. I find I can speak in Gaelic much better when I've had a few beers, maybe, than when I'm sober. But that might be the old different part of the brain working.
I understand you better as well, which is strange.
So you're in business of keeping the lights on. That's effectively what I see Schneider. I see Schneider along with many of our partners as I guess being the other part of the other front line, the digital front line. And it's only maybe, I suggested for a second, it's only been over the last 3 to 4 months that a lot of people have realized that there is a digital front line and it doesn't need a pandemic to step up to the plate. So how have you guys fared with regard to the whole 3 months of activity or 3 years activity in 3 months, etc.?
Yeah, it's strange, when I talk about Schneider, it's so much more than sort of one area of business. So we're classed as a key worker business because of the impact we have in electrical utilities, in water, in key facilities that keep our day-to-day lives going, and digital infrastructure, cloud, everything else is as much a key part of that as anything. I saw the reports today around Netflix, and the amount of TV that was watched during the 3 months of lockdown was something like, I think, on average 6 hours per adult per day.
Wow.
Nearly doubled. So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, it's been a challenge for us. I think that there's a couple of things that really stand out for me that when I talk about how the business as a whole has ridden this lockdown period. And one is, take away the financials, how we've performed and everything. We'll maybe just touch on that a bit later on, but it's how we've adapted our business to support the health and safety of our people, and making sure that they're in a secure and safe position. They're able to continue to do their day to day and support their change family life and home life, as well as working their day-to-day activity as well. So I think we've done an incredibly proud of what we've done as a business in supporting our people, and making sure our people are in a strong position to, as a knock-on effect to that, to support our customers, and really see that the service we continue to give our customers through these 2-3 months, and continuing going on through the rest of the year as well, and continues at an exceptional level.
And there was a sense, I certainly know you a lot. I guess I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of your clients, and indeed I'm sure your maintenance people and your network operating center people, etc., that there was a much bigger sense of purpose among that community. Because people, you said earlier about Netflix, you can say, oh well, I'm part of keeping that running effectively.
Yeah.
And suddenly there was and we can talk about this, because change, when you have such a change, particularly with data centers, you'll always have two sides to it: those that are so in favor of it, and those that think it's the worst thing possible. And that's just change, isn't it? So now that you've got a whole community of people in the industry that aren't sort of hiding behind their hand at a dinner table saying, what industry are you in? Data centers, Oh, I keep Netflix running. Oh, you're my hero. But that is actually one of the things that I hope will come out of it as well, because they're important people. They're important people.
Absolutely.
They're also a frontline group that are, we talk about Netflix, but let's not forget that all schooling, all education, all the healthcare systems, finding a pandemic antidote is all done with infrastructure, with digital services. So I think it's incumbent on us to give a language to the industry, because it was always one of my challenges. I meet a lot of people you're in the supply and the IP and stuff, and they're so intelligent, but they hide behind so many 3-letter acronyms that nobody understands. That,
I've got a few for you if you want, but
no thanks. No thanks. But you know what I'm saying? So you get a room full of people who want to learn, and somebody hits them with PUE. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's a bit like telling me all about the technicalities of a spark plug, but I'm buying the car for the smell of the leather. Talk to me. Yeah. So hopefully that's a transition, that there's a better appreciation. And I know, speaking to you previously, the supply chain, your system for supply chain was greatly challenged, and yet you still were able to use technology, I guess, to track everything in the warehouses and stuff. So you nearly have your own proof of concept.
It's strange, because we could go into loads of detail around this and start talking about it, but the digital transformation of Schneider Electric as a business has been long in practice. I've been with the business for 15 years now, and I'm going to just break off and tell a little bit of a story around that explaining the knowledge of our industry into people. I came into Schneider as a graduate, no electrical background, no technical background whatsoever, and when I came into the business, I had people explaining to me what an RCBO was, who had created RCBOs in the last 30 years, and a non-technical person trying to understand that was near on impossible. Yeah. And then an apprentice was in the room who was learning as well. And when I asked them to explain it to me, that was so basic. It was the baby steps, and that's where you understand. You've got to break it down into not what you know and what you've lived for the last 20, 30 years, or however long it may be, into how you're going to explain it to your child, really. I was just going to say, from a digital point of view, things like the Teams, the Skype, the way we've set up our business. When we closed our offices in a couple of areas to protect from the pandemic, we were set up almost immediately for that business continuity, to make sure that day two, after the office being closed, we were still able to service our customers and support our people and everything else, because of the digital transformation we've been going through. Going forward, that's going to leap on to the next level and to the next level further, but certainly supported around our logistics and making sure our businesses and our customers continue to get the service level from us.
And it's one of the things that we often are challenged by, is there's two sides to a deal. There's the buyer and the seller. And the longer you're on the seller side, you lose empathy for the buyer, irrespective of how you started or where you started. And one of the things that, as you've just said there, we've all now got empathy with challenge. We've all got empathy with I hear a word in startups, and indeed now with larger companies, pivoting. My God, if one more person says pivot, I thought that was something to do with a spreadsheet. But now I realize
my notes to talk to you about.
I have a finger here that you might want to pivot on. Sorry, I promised I wouldn't curse. But I think ultimately what it's also doing is, and I mentioned earlier about Barclays Bank announcing that they will not bring back anything more than 60 to 65% of their headcount to drive all the way into the city, Long Mile in London, or Golden Mile, to drive all the way back out again. And it's taken a pandemic, and I like common sense. It's taken a pandemic for a lot of people to actually scratch their heads and say, it makes so much more sense if we were to do it a different way. And the technologies, this is the point, and what Maurice Mortel van Equinix said recently to me. He said, we were ready for this. We weren't ready for a global pandemic, but we do war maneuvers. We were ready for this type of thing because you and Mark, you and Schneider are in the mission critical industry on 2 points. One is you're in the electrical side, which pre the internet was the most mission critical piece of infrastructure probably in the world. Electricity goes off. 20 years ago we were in, still today, the internet. So you're actually in both those mission critical utility spaces, and I'm sure that helped you when you transitioned over into understanding internet, or empathy with the internet guys, because it was the same issue maybe 20, 30 years ago with the electrical guys. So evolution and empathy is something that I think we all now have a bit more understanding of, because everybody has been in it, no matter how much money or how much little money.
Yeah. And hopefully, I know this is something you're passionate about as well, Gary, but hopefully that helps with that transition into that third pillar, which is the sustainability piece. So all of this has to merge into one. And we've talked before about there's positives that come out of every situation, and if you take the positive that comes out of this situation, certainly the data center industry is going to benefit from it, but sustainability is going to be so much higher on the agenda for everyone. You see, that first month of of lockdown, where you saw the rivers in Venice, the goats coming down from the hills in Llandudno and everything. These are great stories that you want to see coming out into the world. If travel is reduced, if we change the way we operate, we work, then fantastic. It's going to help us get towards net zero faster than what we were originally planning to do. And I think that's got to be the third pillar that links into that model of, core values, internet, digital connectivity, electric, sustainability. They all link together. They can't be a separate discussion.
But it's exactly what you're saying. The picture you have in your mind is the Taj Mahal, where you could see it. You didn't have to. So that's the picture that you probably will see, and we'll get quite protective of that picture, so that if we see that it is getting a bit more clouded. But I think ultimately, like what happened yesterday with British Petroleum and that, where they are now saying big stuff to the markets, the likes of Blackstone and all these big corporate venture capitalist companies are saying we've a seventh pillar of assessment of investment. Now, whether it's greenwashing, time will tell, but now you're starting to get more mainstream companies, people expecting it of whoever they're going to invest into. And that's why I'm overly optimistic, I guess, sometimes, that by planting a few acres of trees and flowers to make it tangible, like the picture of what you see, and gives you more stimulus. So 3 words.
I think for me, I toyed with a couple of different things that I could write down on a piece of paper for you here, Gary. But this is where I finished up. I don't know whether you can see it there.
Yeah,
so,
I'm with you.
Focus on the positives. I've got a little glass there of Guinness, half full.
There you go.
I think this is. It could have been lots of things that I toyed with. The future isn't cancelled. There is still a future, but ultimately, one of the things that's really, and I've talked to lots of people in my team around this, lots of people in my family, that there's opportunity here where we've got to focus on the positives. You've got to pivot really quickly with the market, but no, there's things that we can control, there's things that we can't control, and you could dwell on all those things that you can't control, and as much as you do to avoid the coronavirus and how you protect yourself from getting away from it, you can't completely stop yourself from living your life and going forward. You've just got to be sensible in terms of how you do so, and follow rules and guidelines, and put yourself in the best position, your family in the best position to do so. Equally, the same goes with your role, your work, and how you conduct your business activities. People, we're going to have to change. We're going to have to adjust to make sure that we continue to have this future going forward. But there's huge positives that's come out of this. Sustainability is being one. I look at it purely at a personal level. I've done for the last 15 years 30,000 miles a year in the car. I've not done that for the last 4 months. I've had so much more family time here, and being able to get up every day with my daughters and with my wife, and there's massive positives that come out of it. I talked about the being able to explore the countryside around here. Normally, I wouldn't have had time to do that. There's other things that take over in the life. So there's really good things that are happening at the moment, as well as all the bad that's happening in the world. We could dwell on the bad.
As you say, there's certain things you can control, certain things you can't control. As you're talking there, I think the next time that you're on this in the bar with me, I think you're going to be launching a book, because I can see you launching a book on how I got through coronavirus and how I became a best-selling book author, self-help. You have that sort of calm.
It doesn't work.
You have that calm, reflective, sort of considered, sort of demeanor and delivery, But I'm sure if I could see below you're probably in a pair of Bermuda shorts or something, just like all of us. We're all sort of like ducks above water.
I put jeans on for you today, Gary, just in case you asked me to stand up. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say I put clothes on, but that's for a different discussion. Marc Garner, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you for being a Host in Ireland partner. We don't see enough of you at the moment, but you guys come in second or third year. It's a very unique group of people. We're not an association, as you know. It's a co-opetition. So we like people. We like the people that come in, and mainly the executive council people. And like yourself, you're a great ambassador for Schneider. You're a nice person. You're a nice bloke as well, you know. So all that helps. And thank you for being a partner for the numbers of years you have been.
No, honestly, it's fantastic, Gary. The whole setup and everything that you've done as well through the lockdown in terms of keeping everyone connected. It's been great.